Now that we've understood why emotions are here and how to connect to them, and now that we've explored the link between thoughts and emotions, we're ready for the next chapter, the one where awareness meets repetition. In psychology, we know that the human brain leans through association and repetition. Each emotional response, if repeated enough, strengthens the neural pathways that connect the situation, the thought, and the feeling. That means the more often you feel and think the same way in a certain context, the more your brain recognizes it as a familiar pattern. When this happens, the mind starts anticipating the emotion before the situation even unfolds. So, what once was a reaction becomes a habit of being, an emotional patterns stored deep in the subconscious. This is how an emotion, when repeated through time, becomes part of our identity. Not because it defines us, but because it becomes automatic. Every unprocessed feeling leaves a trace, and when we never pause to listen, those traces become the silent roads our mind keeps walking, even when the destination no longer serves us. This is why awareness matters. It's how emotion meets time and becomes repetition, and how healing meets awareness and becomes transformation. So that's where your journal comes in. Because journaling is not just about documenting your days, it's about tracking the loops your mind and body create so you can finally understand the message they're sending you. From a psychological perspective, every emotion you experience activates specific neural circuits. When the emotion repeats in similar contexts, your brain begins to predict it, preparing the same response even before the trigger fully unfolds. This is called predictive coding. Your mind anticipates the future based on past experiences. So if anger, sadness, or fear are emotions you've often felt in certain situations, your brain learns this is what we do when this happens. And this can be trembling, not being able to talk correctly, or feeling like you're freezed. It can be so many things. So that's the root of a pattern. The neuroscientist Dr. Joseph calls this process emotional memory consolidation. Your amygdala stores emotional responses as quick access reactions. And cognitive psychology shows that the more we rehearse a thought or an emotion, the more it becomes our default setting. And that's a really good news because it can go both ways. This is how it was created, and this is how it can be changed. So the brain is also neuroplastic, and that's something we hear very often. And it means that it can rewire with awareness and repetition of a new response. And that's where your journal becomes your mirror and your medicine. So let's go back to your journal. On the episode number 1, I advised you to start a journal with specific criteria. You can get back to this episode. I'll put it in the bio, and I'll actually guide you through it. So I want you to start by reading through your previous entries, slowly and especially without judgment. Your goal here is to detect the emotions that keep showing up. So number 1, list all the emotions you've written about. Next, after every emotion, notice 2 things: how often it appears and how intense it feels. Because in the journal, you have a rating part when you rate your emotion from 1 to 10. So if, for example, you have, if anxiety, for example, appears often, but is rated a 3 out of 10, while sadness appears slightly less, but is a 10 or an 8 out of 10. You should start with sadness, for example, here, because it's both deeply felt and repetitive. So I want you to start with how often it appears and how intense it feels, and with those 2 criteria, choose the one that is both deeply felt and repetitive. So now you have 1 emotion, and I want you to start with 1. It's very important. The more your brain is focused on 1, the more effective it will be. Now, number 3, I want you to explore the thoughts connected to that emotion. So, for example, in this case, under the emotion sadness, I want you to write down every thought that comes with it, even if it feels small or repetitive. Be specific and don't summarize. It's very important. All the informations are important. Instead of writing, for example, I feel unloved, which is summarized, write the exact thoughts No one really checks on me when I'm quiet, for example, or I'm always the one making effort, or maybe I don't matter as much as I think. And I don't want you to try to make sense out of it. I want you to write it the way it feels or the way you hear it in your brain. So when you've listed them, go by one. Because number 4 would be to have another paper or another journal where we're going to actually try to get deep into those thoughts. So next to each thought, I want you to write 2 questions. And I want you to go thought by thought. Even if it takes 1 day per thought or 3 days per thought, it doesn't matter. If the thought is very intense, it deserves even a month because you will really feel the difference. So in front of it, I want you to say if this thought is true and if this thought is helpful. Those are very 2 important questions, because if the thought feels true, it is not here to hurt you. And that's something people don't talk enough about it because we're always in the victimization. No, some thoughts can be true and they can be here to show you that something needs to change. For example, if your thought is, I'm exhausted because I do everything alone, that might be a sign that you need support or clear boundaries. You don't need self-criticism in that case. You just need to understand what this thought is coming to tell you. If the thought is not true, and most of the time it is not, or only partially true, take a step back. Imagine your best friend told you this thought. Or imagine yourself telling this to your best friend. Would it be right? Would it be nice? Would it be kind? And would it be helpful, most importantly? Would you tell them, yes, you're right, or yes, you're a loser? Or would you offer them something more balanced and more helpful? So I want you to take that step back when you're answering these questions about your thoughts and try to answer in that way. Once you've done those 2, I want you, number 6, which is the sixth step, in front of each thought, I want you to write a more balanced or healthier version. Something that sounds kinder, truer, and more empowering. This is very important. For example, instead of no one cares about me, you can write, for example, some people might not show it the way I need. But it doesn't mean I'm not seen, or it doesn't mean I'm not loved. Instead of I always fail, for example, you can write in a more balanced thought. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but I've handled more than I give myself credit for. I want you here to try to be very objective right in those thoughts. So the last step would be to repeat this process throughout the week. Keep writing every emotion and thought that shows up and go slowly, trying to really go deep into every thought. And by the end of the week, highlight the most repetitive ones, the ones that carry the more emotional weight. These are your patterns revealing themselves, and awareness is the first step to transformation. There are thoughts where you will be trying to have better thoughts, and it's going to be hard for you to be rewired because remember, your brain is rewired by repetition and consistency. And the goal here is every time you have the thoughts, you will try to replace it with the healthier thought that is going to be more useful for you than just dragging you down. The main thing through this series for me is really to understand that connecting to yourself will give you, first, a lot of information about who you are. And second, and this is something we'll talk about in the next episode, it will help you to understand some other things. Because remember, in your journal, you also have the place and the people you are with when you feel those emotions. And I will tell you more about what this could mean. So your journal is your best friend. Not because it holds your feelings and your secrets, but because it finally gives you space, or it gives space to the messages of your body especially, to actually take space and to be seen and heard. Every emotion that you record is your body speaking to you, not to punish you, but to guide you back to yourself. Your body does not hold grudges, it holds messages. And when you start listening, those messages soften. The emotions lose their intensity because they're finally being heard. And when you treat your emotions as messengers and your body as your ally, something shifts inside of you. The sadness feels less heavy. The anxiety feels less loud. And because you are no longer avoiding them, you are sitting beside them. pen in hand, listening. Healing isn't the absence of patterns, it's the moment you begin to understand them. And every time you open your journal, you are not writing to fix yourself, you're writing to reconnect with yourself. I hope this was useful. I hope you will really get to do the exercise. Trust me, the simplest exercises are the ones that have the most power and that are the most transformative. Consistency matters and intention matters. And I truly hope that you will get to have the time to do the exercises, because understanding is important, but doing and actually jump into practice is what helps in the healing process. I wish you a very good day or a very good night, and see you in the next episode.